Hey there, guys. Welcome to the 20th episode of Daily Word Webs to Build a Cat. Kung Fu Panda तो आपने देखी होगी ना? It's a great movie. If you've not, do watch it. And उसमें there's this character Oogway, who says that कुछ ऐसे तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा बढ़िया lines कही थी, which were on the line, which went something like, past is history, future is mystery, present is all you have. That's why it's called a present, right? So yeah, that's the essentially the idea is essentially the same idea that the title here is trying to convey. Your time starts now, but it also ends now. Like what I mean to say here is that now is all we have, right? तो जो भी चीज़ें हमें करनी है ना आपको, like things that really matter to you in terms of all the goals that you want to pursue and ambitions that you want to fulfill, you got to start working on them now. You cannot put them off. You cannot temporize them. We learned this word last time, right? So we cannot procrastinate on them, right? So yeah. So yeah. So the roots for today, evum and hora, also relate to time, and yeah, let's go into that. Okay, so guys, the first root evum comes from has its origin in the Latin language, while the second one hora has a Greek origin, and evum stands for age or period of time, or certain period of time. That's what evum stands for. Hora, on the other hand, it stands for hour, right? The word hour it is directly derived from hora, right? Or season, okay? So, and then the other roots which are similar and which we have already discussed are tempor and chrono, that which also relate to time. They don't relate to age or period, they generally relate to time itself. Okay, so yeah. So, our times have changed quite a bit, as all times do. And if you talk to anyone from our older generations, अगर आप बात करें आप, and then if you specifically ask them about their work experience or their career, अगर उसकी आप बात करें, you notice that they take a, usually some of them they often take a very uh, they take pride in expressing that they have worked for a certain company or a certain organization for more than 30 years, more than 35 years, 30, 35, 40 years, in many cases even 40, 45 years, right? That's something that like they have ensured a longevity of service for their organization for periods as long as these, right? And that's where the longevity doesn't come from this narrative. I'm just मैं आपको एक बस example दे रहा था यहाँ पे longevity word के लिए. So longevity में the second part EV part comes from even that stands for a period of time. That means longevity refers to a long period of time. Okay, so so longevity would be that. So people who have worked for so long, used to work for so long with the same company, so they would say that in olden times the longevity of service or tenure was something that used to be valued, right? So that's a way of using this word in a context. एक और तरीका ये हो सकता है, you can say that the longevity of your life, right? That means कि आप कितना लंबा जिएंगे, कब तक आप you'll be alive. The longevity of your life directly depends on the kind of food you eat, your eating habits, and your workout regimen, right? If you have one, that is. So right. So and many other and the factors related to stress, etc., etc. Right. So that's another context in which longevity can be used. Let's come to the next word, which is coeval. If you guys remember, in the last session we talked about Jung and Freud. I think at least mentioned किया था हमने इसको. We mentioned them in passing, right? And then we mentioned how they were contemporaries, right? Contemporaries, right? And then contemporaries means they lived in the same era, they lived in the same age, and then coeval also means has a similar meaning. In fact, it can often be used as with in place of interchangeably with the word contemporary. ठीक है, काफी बार ये use हो सकता है. So it stands for like someone who's of the same age or of the same time or of the same era, right? Who's a contemporary, right? So you can see that Jung was a coeval to Freud, or you can see that Einstein was coeval with Erwin Schrödinger, right? You must have heard of Erwin Schrödinger and the whole what do you say? dead or alive cat experiment, right? Schrodinger's cat. Maybe if we get a chance, we'll talk about that in some of the next sessions. Quite an interesting concept. Right now we'll stick to vocabulary. Yeah. So coeval stands for that. Let's move on to the next term, which is medieval. Okay. Just before that, just once again. Coeval mein guys, the evil part, again it comes from evum, that stands for a period of time or age, right? And co is for together, okay? And it comes from a late Latin term, which is co itself, that stands for doing something jointly, doing something together. Okay, yeah, so coeval would be like being existing at the same time, in the same age, and at the same period of time, in the same era, together, right? So that's coeval for you. Similarly, the next what we have here is medieval. Okay, medieval. You must have heard of medieval in terms of medieval ages, right? Yeah, medieval times. There used to be feudal systems. There used to be systems which were not very, which were kind of a little very monarchical, right? King and pura king wala era hua karta tha medieval times mein. So medieval would relate to that. Medieval comes from the roots. The second part, evil, obviously comes from evum, that stands for age or period. However, the second part comes from medi, uh, medium. Okay, the Latin term medium. Medium itself is a Latin term, which is also an English word, by the way, which stands for the middle. Okay. That means so medieval से आप बोलना basically ये चाह रहे हैं, that means the middle ages. You're basically referring to the middle ages when you say medieval. Okay, so yeah, so relating to the middle ages. Now from medium, you can have in fact many other words. For example, you must have heard of the word intermediate, right? So intermediate means if someone has developed skills, has intermediate skills of vocabulary, that means they are neither a beginner nor they are an expert. They वो अभी कहीं ना कहीं they are somewhere in the middle of the process. They are kind of an intermediate level, right? It not just vocabulary skills, any kind of skills. बहुत सारी जगह ये word आपका use हो सकता है. Something that comes in between two things in time, place, or quality or progress can be considered as intermediate. So that's intermediate. Other terms, the word media, right? Also in part derives from the term medium here. Okay, so medium पे हम लोग will go to medium later on. Let's move on to the next term that we have at hand here, which is primeval. Now primeval, guys, the second part obviously comes from evum, which stands for period of time or age, and the first part, prime, comes from the word primus. Okay, that primus is a Latin term that stands for first. Okay, you must have heard of prime numbers, right? Prime numbers आप पढ़ी रहे होंगे quant के लिए, है ना? So prime numbers are numbers that not necessarily that come first, but basically which are the fundamental building blocks of the whole number system. You must have noticed how let's say like 4 can be broken down into 2, right? 2 into 2. You can break down 6 into 2 into 3, but 2 itself cannot be broken down into another number, right? इसको आप ज़्यादा आप 2 into 1 लिख सकते हो, and 1 तो आपका वैसे भी आप you can write it anywhere. So 3 itself cannot be broken down into any other number, and that's the reason why they are called prime numbers, because these are the fundamental building blocks which cannot be broken down any further. इससे छोटा और कुछ नहीं हो सकता, right? Similarly, you'll have 5 and 7, जो भी आपके prime numbers हैं, all of them, right? So they are the first numbers, they are the fundamental numbers, right? So yeah. Then next, so primeval would stand for something that relates to the earliest ages of human history. Like medieval relates to the Middle Ages, so primeval relates to the earliest ages of human history, right? So the पुराने वाले समय में. So that's primeval for you. Let's move on to the next term, which is quite interesting, and I'm sure at some point of time you have referred this, which is horoscope. Horoscope derives from two roots. The first one is hora, that stands for R, and the second root here is also an interesting word. Is quite an interesting root, which stands for, which is SKOPEIN, which is a Greek term for looking at something, to look at something. Is Scopian stands for to look at something. So horoscope means when they are when a person is reading your horoscope, they're basically looking at your time कि आपका time अच्छा चल रहा है या खराब चल रहा है, and then they'll try to forecast your future based on the relative positions of celestial bodies of planets and stars कि हाँ नहीं यार आपके सितारे थोड़े से अच्छे नहीं दिख रहे हैं या फिर अच्छे दिख रहे हैं, whatever, right? So horoscope is when they are trying to look at your time and then trying to tell you about your future, how things are going to be in the future. So you have these daily horoscopes in newspapers and even on many news channels early in the morning, right? So I still recall my parents used to like when I was a kid, and Saturdays, Sundays पे maybe at least सुबह सुबह there would be some channel जहाँ पे they would एक एक करके they'll talk about these zodiac signs one by one, right? कि हाँ this sign, that sign, and depending on what sign you have, you'll be told how's your day how's your day going to be like, right? So that's horoscope. They try to judge how your time was going to be like. They were trying to look at your time. Okay. So from Scorpion, by the way, Scorpion is a very interesting term. There are many roots that there is many words that derive from this. For example, you have the word telescope, right? Now telescope may the part tele comes from the root distance. Tele in modern Latin stands for something that is at a distance. Okay, so when you say telescope, telescope will basically be a device that allows you to see things which are at a distance. Okay, so that will be telescope for you. Then you also have microscope, right? Microscope, let me write it here. Microscope would basically be an optical instrument that is used for viewing very small objects, right? And in case of microscope, the word micro derives from I'm gonna write this here. Micro derives from micron, okay, or rather micros actually. Mikros, micros, that in Greek stands for small, okay. So micros का मतलब small हो गया. So microscope is like when you want to look at things which are really small, which are really minute, you use a microscope. ठीक है. Scorpion is it's a very extensive term. We'll look into this separately. इसको तो अलग से हम लोग देखेंगे. ठीक है. So that's about the words for today, guys. So in this section, guys, you can pause the video and then go through the sentence usages of each of these words. It will help you understand, get a sense of the better sense of the vocabulary here. And as you can see, these have been derived from some credible sources, right? So that should help. Here you can again pause the video and test yourself. You just need to find the correct order of sentences which have been shuffled, so that the right sentence is along with the right word. The words are fixed on the left side. You can also attempt this test via a Google form, the link to which has been provided in the description. So guys, here's the summary of the roots and words that we studied on a primary and secondary basis. What you can do is you can pause the video if you want and try to recall the meaning of these roots and the words that we discussed in the session today. Finally, guys, I'm Anupam Mishra and I'm Lucknow alumnus. These are my areas of work and expertise. These are the brands that I've worked with, and these are my CAT credentials. I've also worked as an academy educator in the past, recognized by the Johnny Ive Award for best course design and delivery. And yeah, so that's about me. Sluggers, guys, we are a growing channel. मैं यहाँ पे काफ़ी सारी जो दिक्कतें हैं यहाँ पे टेस्ट प्रेप में मैं उनको एड्रेस करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ स्लगर्स के द्वारा. एंड बिकॉज वी आर ग्रोइंग चैनल, हमें आपके पूरे सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत होगी. तो अगर आपको हमारा कंटेंट और डिलीवरी अच्छा लगता है देन डू like and subscribe, like the videos and subscribe to the channel and share it with anyone who you think might benefit from these. आपके लिए शायद वो एक सिंपल सा क्लिक या एक बटन रहता होगा, बट फॉर अ ग्रोइंग चैनल इट मेक्स अ बिग डिफरेंस फॉर अस. सो प्लीज डू दैट. अगर आप नेक्स्ट वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं तो आप यहाँ क्लिक कर सकते हैं. एंड इफ यू वांट टू गो टू द वेरी फर्स्ट वीडियो ऑफ द सीरीज जो अगर आपने नहीं देखा हो तो आप यहाँ क्लिक करके आगे जा सकते हैं. ओके, सो दैट्स अबाउट इट फ्रॉम माय साइड. थैंक यू.